All right, so if you've been collecting sneakers as long as I have, if you've been in the shopping world as long as I have, if you've been wasting your hard-earned money on stuff that you shouldn't have, then you'll remember this moment right here because it was a turning point in sneaker culture. If you used to shop in NYC, you remember Reed Space, you remember Jeff Staple, and you remember when he released the Pigeon Dunk.
This might have been the shoe that started it all. The Nike Pigeon Dunk SB Low official. I think after this shoe came out, like a whole different generation of people and a whole different demographic of person got into buying sneakers. Before, most people bought sneakers because they needed something comfortable to walk around in, and when a pair of shoes died, they'd buy another pair of shoes. That's how people consumed footwear. But there was a small group of people that would buy as much shoes as they could get their hands on, and I think after this shoe came out, that group of people ballooned.
Now, I wasn't living in NYC at the time, but I used to come here a lot, and Reed Space was where we would go. That was one of the main destinations we had to go to check out the new sneakers. Everyone remembers that time, that whole area. What a historic time. I personally wasn't here for the drop of that sneaker, but we heard about it. We heard about it all the way in San Francisco, and I wanted it. I was ready to pay resale, which I never did. I'm glad I didn't. It retailed for $300, I believe. But on the release day, so lining up for sneakers, camping out for sneakers, that was a thing before this. But I don't think we saw it on this level.
There were campouts before, so people camped out for Jordans. So I understood the concept of a campout, but it was weird that they were camping out for something that hadn't been seen. Sight unseen, they were camping out. Because I never released a picture of this, and there was none leaked to my knowledge. So it was just the fact that Staple was working on a dunk, and there's pigeon shit. That's the only clue that they got. This is where the kids started lining up like 4 days prior. Mm-hmm. So they were tying their lawn chairs and tents to this gate here.
And then like at night, sometimes they'd have their car parked over here and just jump in at night because it was freezing.
Yeah.
I remember it was
right.
Like this.
It was hectic. There was fights every night, but after a while, you started bonding with the people next to you to try to hold your ground and make sure no one comes within your area. You sort of like formed alliances or some shit like that,
Every day leading up 4 days in, a couple of more kids were lining up. And I would say probably by the night before, there was probably like 30 to 40 kids sleeping out there, right? And I bought them all pizzas. Like I left work late that day, and then I went home. Next morning I came back at like 10 o'clock. It was pandemonium when I got there. The block was locked down, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? It was really scary. You could just see heavy snorkel jackets. You could see baseball bats peeked out from under the snorkels. You could see knives. I saw a machete. Like, people were just tucking weapons in and waiting on all four corners.
I was on the police department a little over 20 years, and that was pretty much the only time I could remember that the release of sneakers, an item like that, created such almost riot. They weren't ready for this. So it was a good thing that we were there to help them out.
The entire time the gate was down. And so I think what I did was, after I assessed what was going on, talked to some of the cops, went through the back door, right, came in through the back, and then just tried to assess what was going on. And I remember taking a shot from in here of the gate down with cops still trying to pull people out of the line, but kids hanging onto the gate.
I was happy to read that they are officially opening up their own store at 21 Mercer. If anyone knows, 21 Mercer is where that old Nike store used to be, but now it's going to be a flagship store for Staple. So I couldn't find any other information on it. It's not open yet. I only read that they signed a 10-year lease. But I did find an article where Jeff Staple himself spoke a little bit about it. He said, "People are going to think I'm wild. And sometimes I have to check myself and the things I say. But I realized when the brand turned 25 years old that it was time to open a store. That's just how I think. Imagine a physical space that encompasses a quarter century of history. I consider it more of a museum than a store. I'm really excited about that." Sounds dope to me. I can't wait to go. Think about it. Yeah. I mean, when I first read this story, I was thinking, is now the time for Staple to open a store? But if you think about it, when he says it's more of a museum, that makes sense. And then there's very few brands that could represent New York streetwear in an authentic way like Staple can. So I'm there. When it's open, I'm there. I want to see the museum. I want to cop some stuff. They've collabed with everybody, so they got long history. Congrats to Jeff Staple, and I can't wait to check out the new spot.